You guys, today it's a little something different. If I can't be out fishing as much, Christy and I, we've had family, we've got the baby, and I've always had this idea over the past few winters, and I've never actually done it, to do kind of like a video podcast.
Yeah.
And so today, sitting down with Mr. Quentin Turko here in the Outer Banks. We're here at Swelza. And so Quentin, you were actually one of the first people that I wrote down when I was thinking about doing this, like a video podcast, just because it's hard to describe you because you kind of do it all.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me, and
yeah,
thank you for having me on. I'm stoked to talk about surfing and fishing and spearfishing with you. I know we've done all three together, so it's fitting to do a podcast and talk about all three.
Absolutely. So kind of like a formal intro, just because, again, Quentin, you and your brother and your family, y'all are just great ambassadors to the Outer Banks, to all the different activities, pretty much the whole Waterman lifestyle. But you know, it takes someone maybe like me to say it to give you the formal intro. So I would try to do my best to be pro surfer, fisher, spear fisherman, full kind of waterman. You're pretty much living the dream right now, doing the social media.
Yeah.
Full time. You're, full time with this. I don't know. Are my world record at one point spear?
Yeah, former world record holder.
Until recently, I saw that. So former world record spear fishing, sheepshead. Did you win the TW's speckled trout?
I won the spectacular trout fishing tournament 2 years in a row. It's put on by the Manio Rotary Club in the springtime. So I won that this spring and then last spring.
So how would you describe, maybe if you were giving an introduction, would you just say professional waterman maybe?
Yeah.
Sweet. So this is Quentin Turko, y'all, and if you don't know who Quentin is, hopefully by the end of this podcast you'll have a really good idea about who Quentin is and what you're about, what you do. So you live here in the Outer Banks from here?
Yeah. Grew up in Kitty Hawk.
Who have you looked up to, growing up, maybe?
There's been so many guys that I've looked up to. That's the cool thing, being a surfer and a fisherman, spearfishing. There's never really one guy that necessarily did it all. I mean, there were some guys Ben Morris has always been someone I looked up to, fishing and surfing. And then the Lusk brothers, Dave and Matt, are great fishermen, surfers. I mean, there's so many great surfers too, like Jesse Hines, Noah Snyder, Brett Barley. Those were definitely the guys that always motivated me and made me want to surf. But it always just changed, depends on what day you ask me, whether I say I'm a surfer or a fisherman or a spear fisherman.
Yeah,
so those are some of the big influences I had in all sports, and it depends on the day which activity I'm more passionate about.
I was surprised that you didn't throw, and maybe this is somebody that you just haven't mentioned, is actually, when I think about you, it's almost I would say you're the Mark Healy of the Outer Banks.
Yeah. Mark Healy is one of my favorite watermen around, and I definitely look up to him. He's not somebody that I actively get to hang out with. I've seen him in the water before in Hawaii and stuff, but definitely he's a big motivation and pushes me, and I want to be like him.
Yeah, because I mean, even the way that I would almost equate the surfing, because you're, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say that your surfing style is you pretty much charge. You really love the macking, full on Outer Banks. It's you're not out there just really targeting the waist to chest high days and that sort of, and you're not doing the contest stuff anymore.
Yeah, no, I haven't really done any contests lately, and I always want to be in the biggest and best waves. So if we get a big swell, I'm going wherever it's the biggest and the gnarliest. Ever since I was little, that's always what I wanted to put myself in, was the most difficult waves, and I feel like it's the same thing with fishing and spear fishing. I'm kind of always after the most difficult thing, the biggest fish. So yeah, I've always gravitated towards that. And I do like surfing little waves, and I did contests when I was younger, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, what gets me the most excited? And it's like being in big water and big waves and difficult conditions.
What's the most scared you've been in the ocean?
Man, I get scared a lot in the ocean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't had a single moment. I've never really had a moment where I thought that I was going to die. But I've had some moments where I've gotten pretty spooked. Like, all right, this could go bad. I've seen some great whites while spearfishing.
Oh my gosh.
That one was definitely a moment when I was looking at it. I was like, I'm not the top dog. I was like, if this guy wants me, there's nothing I could do. I was down 50 feet. I was like, he's going to get to me before I get to the surface, and that's going to be it. I'm not going to win that fight. And then,
you have to so give us like the quick story with that.
Yeah. So I was out spearfishing on a shipwreck. It was,
here?
Here on the Outer Banks. Later in the year, fall, kind of almost this time of year. I think it was in November, so about a month ago. Didn't happen a month ago, but in November. It's December right now. Dive in, first few dives, went down like 50 feet or so, and I mean, great whites are so cool. Like their backs are dark and gray and their bellies are light. And like as I was going down off in the distance, like he blended in very well. I was like, I think that is a really big shark. That doesn't look like a shark I've ever seen before. Dang. And like as I was leveling off, like he turned and started coming towards me. I started going up, and like he turned and started coming up towards me. And we had like this moment of like kind of like staring, but then luckily just turned off and didn't keep coming any closer.
I remember, I think we were out surfing one day, and I asked you the shark question, and you were telling me a story about, was it a sand tiger?
Yeah.
That tried to take your fish off?
Yeah, I've had a couple sand tiger stories. The one was the most exciting. Normally, I don't think anything about sand tigers. I see sharks when I'm spearfishing a lot.
Pretty docile.
Yeah, it's not, sharks are bad in certain spots, like in Florida and the Bahamas. And out here in the Gulf Stream, if you're tuna fishing, they're gnarly. But most of the shipwrecks, they're sand tigers and they're not terribly aggressive.
Right.
So I kind of get desensitized to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were on a shipwreck. My buddy had shot a fish. We were swimming over to his buoy and saw the shark on the surface freaking out. And me being myself with sand tigers, I was like, oh, it's just a sand tiger, so big deal. So I grabbed the line and I'm hand lining this thing, and he's ripping at the fish and I'm holding on, and then he pulls off and swims away for a second, and the viz was really bad. This was a shore dive. Me and my brother were beside each other, and we're kind of laughing about it, and then we both stick our faces back down, and the sand tiger is charging at both of us. So we're backpedaling away, and Stefan's hitting it with a spear gun, not doing anything, and we're both backwards looking at each other like, what's going on here? And then Stefan slides off a little bit, and then I hit him another good time, and then he veers off, and we were like, wow. Didn't expect that to happen, yeah.
Dang. So, and then haven't you guys done the crazy spearfishing off of sharks maybe? Have you done that?
Yeah, I've shot a cobia off of a bull shark.
Wow.
One time down in Wilmington.
Wow.
Which is cool. Not as crazy as they do it in Florida, but yeah. That shot a African pompano in the morning, bull shark came around, and then was holding cobia, but my gun obviously wasn't loaded. The other guy's wasn't. The other guy was doing safety. He was like, yeah, I'm not going to shoot a third fish, because there was just 3 of us, which was a good thing to do. He was like, I'm going to keep the shark away from both of y'all's fish. So then later in the morning, the bull shark came back around with some 5-6 cobia on it, and I shot it. The one day I forgot my GoPro ever diving was down there in Wilmington.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what's some of the most interesting things you've seen in the ocean, in the Outer Banks?
Yeah.
Whales out front, or?
Yeah, definitely the whales. Haven't really dove with any cool. It would be really cool to dive with a humpback or something like that, but see them and stuff, surfing and on the boat. Cool times diving with dolphins. Diving with the manta ray was the coolest thing I think I've ever done out here. Just 10 miles off of Nag's Head, having a huge manta ray show up.
He kind of hung out for a few days.
Yeah, he did. We saw 3 times in a week period in the same zone, and we were pretty sure it was the same manta ray.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell, but it would make sense.
Yeah. Dang, that's
and then awesome. The great white was really cool to see. So I would say the great white and then also the manta ray were the coolest experiences in the water diving.
With the great white, was it like obviously pretty scary in the moment, and then did that kind of turn into like, that was actually kind of cool?
Yeah, it was short-lived. It definitely wasn't
Right.
crazy or anything. It didn't like come right up to me. It was something where I first saw it, I was like, this isn't good, but luckily it didn't turn into any more. But yeah, after, it was really cool to be like, all right, I got to check that off the list. I got to see a great white while diving.
Was there anything else that like just in your, again, like in and out of the water, like crazy stuff that you've seen?
Those couple experiences were the most exciting. It's kind of almost sad to say, but I feel like I get desensitized to a lot of it because I spend so much time doing it.
Right.
Which it's nice when I take people out there that don't get to do it as much, or if it's their first time, because they're super excited to see dolphins and like any experience is new. But as I keep doing it more and more, it's like my level of
exactly.
I love it. I absolutely love everything, but like I said, I get desensitized to it.
Yeah. And so to ask this next question, to even give you more of like an intro, because it's not like you do like just one style of surfing, and it's not like you just do shallow spearfishing just on these wrecks like right out front. Like you're out doing it like offshore, like, you know, bigger game stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about your trip to Mexico with Saudi crew and that big tuna you got. But even fishing, you're also not doing, unlike Christy and I, like we pretty much specialize in like the shallow water, lighter tackle. Like you literally do it all.
Yeah, I love doing everything. I mean, I feel like that's just my personality. I want to learn everything I can and do everything about sport or fishing or spearfishing. It's like if I get into something, I want to learn like all of it, both extremes. So yeah, I mean, I grew up light tackle fishing, absolutely love it. I love chasing trout and drum, but I'll also go out there and catch bluefin tuna in the wintertime. So it's like the extremes, you know, it's like I tell people, I'm like, man, I went and caught speckled trout yesterday, and then I'm out here catching a 500-pound bluefin tuna the next day. So
that's awesome. So
it's cool. They're completely different sports, but they're the same thing. And completely different and completely the same.
and you know, it's funny because like, you know, we have some of the bluefin showing up off of Virginia Beach.
I've seen that in the last couple of weeks, which is crazy.
And then so I had 5 people message me, like 5 different groups say, hey Jeff, we need somebody to come show us like what we're doing. We don't have a clue. And I was like, I literally don't know what I'm doing. Like, you know, like it's a totally different.
It is.
To, you know, to your credit, it's like, it takes a whole separate everything.
Yeah, when I first started doing the offshore stuff, it's like, I've never fished a day before in my life. I can't call myself a fisherman. I don't know what I'm doing right now.
So then let me ask you this question. So out of all of the different things that you do and all the things that the Outer Banks offers, what are some of the things that you look forward to the most? Like the beach bite, the bull reds showing up. What would you say?
Exactly.
The hurricane season.
It's like, it's different times a year I look forward to different things. There's not one single thing that I love on the Outer Banks because there's too many things that I love, and it comes down to the seasonality of it. I feel like I live in a different spot in the world depending on what month it is here. Summertime is insane spearfishing. It's like I'm living in the Bahamas. And then in September and October, I feel like I'm living in some world-class wave destination where I can get barreled almost every single day. And then in the springtime, the beach fishing is insane. So yeah, those different times of year I get really excited too. Like the bull reds showing up is something I got really, really excited for in the spring. Trout fishing around the same time on the beach is something I really get excited for. Then the spear fishing all summer, and the flats fishing, sight fishing for the smaller slot reds is exciting all summer. And then, of course, surfing's always in the back of my mind. Really, any time of the year you can get great waves. But September, October is my favorite time of year for the surf here. But you also can have world-class fishing. Like this year we had really good waves, and I didn't really fish or spearfish much. But other years we have a bad year for waves, and the fishing's insane that time of year too. So I feel very fortunate to live here and do the things that I do, because there's very few days when I'm looking for something to do. Like even today, I was looking forward to doing this, but I was like, there's not really any wind. I bet I could go look for some drum. I wonder if there's any drums still on the flats. Go do fishing every day. Unless it's got to be really, really bad weather, but you can still find something to do here.
Did any part, like growing up, did any of that, like with the Outer Banks and with the climate and how it's like, you know, literally like no 2 days are the same. It's like ever changing. So did some of that, like just the nature of the Outer Banks, did some of that kind of like, I don't want to say force you, but like helped you to like to try and maximize the Outer Banks for what it offers?
Yeah, the Outer Banks is very raw. The temperatures are very extreme. Summertime, 80, 90 degrees, 75, 80 degree water, it's super tropical. And then wintertime, I mean, it gets down into the teens on the worst of days, and the water's down into the 30s. So yeah, from surfing and fishing, it's crazy the like diversity we have in those seasons, and it makes me a really good surfer because I talk to people and they're like, oh, it's freezing cold, you got to wear a 5 mil. I'm like, wear a 5 mil every winter, like that's kind of standard for us. And the waves are very raw. We have all of all of the swells we get come off of our coast pretty much, so they're very short period. It's a lot of energy and wind, and I would like say funk in the swell. There are very clean swells, but a lot of times it's very mixed up and tricky because it's all beach breaks too. If you can learn how to surf here on the Outer Banks, you go to point breaks in the world and you're like, oh my gosh, I sit right here, this perfect clean line comes and breaks perfectly every wave, I got a channel to paddle back out in. That's not the case here at all.
I thought I heard, and I don't know if it's true or not, someone told me that, like Kelly said, this is one of the hardest places to paddle out.
Yeah, oh yeah, I agree. I think that it is the most difficult. When it's really big here, the days down south, anytime it's big and doing its thing, it's terrifying to make it out and being out there. You're out far, it's super consistent, so it's really hard to make it out. Like elsewhere you go to almost anywhere else and you have longer period swells. So there's lulls and it's more predictable. There might be a 30-foot wave breaking, but after that set, it's going to be relatively flat.
For sure.
Here we'll have a 15-foot wave that's a 10-second period or something. So it's just, there's not much of a lull at all. So you have to work a lot harder, and there's no channels. So I think paddling out here is insane. I go to places around the world and they're like, it's super hard to paddle out, or man, there's a lot of current. I'm like, this isn't any current. You should see where I live.
Yeah, totally. So, people see your Instagram and this perfect barrel that you're getting here, but they don't see, it's like tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, Instagram versus reality.
Talk about that. Like, sometimes you're paddling for what, 30 minutes to almost an hour, or you're out there for 2
hours.
waves.
Yeah, exactly, for one Instagram wave. And that's what I tell a lot of my friends. I'll have people from elsewhere talking about coming up for a swell, and there's swells where I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be good, and there's other swells where I'm like,
don't really know.
Could be good, it might not be good. And then I'll talk to friends, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna see a clip on Instagram that's gonna make it look like it's all time, but it wasn't. So yeah, and that's the thing that I want to get those waves. That's what motivates me, and I'll choose to paddle out in those waves. Like Brett's the guy here. He goes and surfs those crazy difficult waves, but gets that hero wave or those hero sessions, and that's always what I want to put myself in, because you might only get that one wave, but it's an insane wave. Versus there's other spots that are smaller or more easier, but I can't surf those spots and know that somewhere else is bigger and better. Even though it'd be easier and I'd have more fun, I want to try and prove myself in the most difficult conditions, even though 9 times out of 10 you spend the whole day paddling and catching bad waves.
If you had to say like one day that really stands out, or maybe even like one wave that was like, just maybe some of the biggest that you've seen?
One day that I definitely will remember is the Hurricane Teddy swell a few years ago here, which was huge swell. It was Hurricane Teddy, and then there was like a nor'easter involved too that kind of kicked the storm off, so the swell was giant. It was a combo swell. The road going down south washed out. Me and Jesse Hines and Christian Van Vliet took Jesse's boat, and we boated down because the road was washed out. So we loaded up the boards, went down south, and got picked up by our buddy. And we were driving boating back in the sound, and we could see waves breaking from the sound, like
Whoa.
giant waves.
Wow.
Which is incredible to even see a wave like that. I mean, they must have been 50-foot waves breaking like way out. Like,
That's
the
insane.
spray from the waves looked like it was going 100 feet in the air.
Crazy.
Like way over the telephone poles and everything.
Wow.
And yeah, we got down there, and there's a lot of big names here. Like Koa Rothman was here, and
okay.
Cam Richards. Of course, we met up with Brett and Mason Barnes, insane big wave surfer. So it was like crazy that it just happened to work out that those guys were here. And yeah, we walked up, and it was insane, the biggest waves that I've seen. And we ended up surfing. It was a little bit more of an inside wave. It definitely wasn't the biggest waves possible, because it really wasn't that possible to go without a jet ski and stuff and the safety team, but we still ended up paddling some of the biggest waves that I've ever seen paddled on the Outer Banks.
And I still like remember watching, I think, Koa's video where he was like, I think he might have got 1 or 2 waves.
Yeah, not many of us caught a lot. In the morning, the waves were insane. We all paddled out and got, Koa was the only one that made it out. We all got denied, just absolutely smoked, and he made it out, and then he was by himself and ended up coming in to paddle back out with us all. And yeah, the waves, we did end up getting waves as the day went on, but it got smaller. The waves that we saw in the morning, nobody even got anything that was close to it. I took off on a closeout. That was a big wave, but it still wasn't even the biggest wave that came in.
Wow. So like talking about Koa and even your travels, you just got back from Portugal. So when people ask you, like just out in the lineup or whatever, or just out, and you know, you say you're from the Outer Banks, what's like the general reaction?
Some people don't know. Some people talk about the Netflix show. Sadly. And then other people are familiar with it. They're like, oh man, you got all the good beach break barrels there. So yeah, it's varied. Some people know, some people don't know, but it's it's cool to talk about depending on what wave I'm at. I'm like, it breaks like this. If I'm at a good beach break barrel, I'll be like, yeah, it's like this.
Yeah. So growing up and even like as you've kind of carved your path, like what maybe were like some watershed moments for you, like where you were kind of like, or did you always have that in mind where you're like, this is definitely what I want to do? Like, I don't see myself doing anything else. Or was it like?
Yeah, I would say since I was young, like 6, 7 years old, that was really, it's always been my passion, and what I always wanted to do was to be a surfer and a fisherman. So I didn't really think about any other thing besides that. That was always just my goal. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely ups and downs. Like being a surfer is hard, like competing and everything. Like at that younger age, that's what you got to do. This was, you know, I feel like I'm getting old. This was like 15 years ago when there wasn't vlogs or anything. There wasn't really an alternative way to being a pro surfer by doing like content like that. There was a few free surfers, but it was mostly being a content surfer, contest surfer and getting content in magazines. So it was always like compete and do this and that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of ups and downs where there was events where I would do terrible in and have stretches where I was like, maybe I don't have it. But I always just kept my head down and kept working hard at it.
Yeah, because like it is, you brought up like the social media piece of it, and to me it's kind of similar to like golf, where you see these guys that trying to make it on the tour, but you don't see what they put in like all the years leading up to being on the PGA Tour, where they're couch surfing, they're competing in all these other tournaments and everything, and a lot of them have jobs. You know, they're like they're pros working at their local. And for you, it's pretty awesome because and really commendable, because you'll make it work, right? Like, and how over the years, you know, you've guided, you've saved money guiding, and you're still fishing and bettering yourself in that way and saving money. So how have you kind of like navigated like doing this full time? And it sounds like you're at like a really cool spot now, but people don't see what you put in.
No, I haven't always been in that good spot. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely an up and down roller coaster. Like I touched on with competing. I mean, there was countless days when I was in my late teens losing in events, devastated. Like, this is it, this is the last contest I'm ever doing, I'm done being a surfer, I'm not good enough. But I'd be upset about it for a day, and then you got to turn it around and be like, no, I'm going to keep working hard. So I'm fortunate my parents are great. They've always pushed me and motivated me, and I'm thankful that I've had them to give me that good work ethic, because there's other families that aren't as supportive, and I think I would have given up, but they still are my biggest supporters and motivated me to keep working and never giving up. And I'm grateful that that's been my work ethic, and I just have this not quit attitude. So like even when, you know, I've lost sponsors when I was younger and had nobody for a while, but I never gave up. I would do other things. I got my captain's license and did some fishing charters for a while, and just I always have to keep doing something. I never just want to sit idle. I think and it worked out great getting with Salty Crew. I mean, they're the greatest brand to be a part of.
That's definitely what I was going to ask you about next.
And it all ended up like coming together perfectly, because I've always spearfished, I've always fished. Surfing's always been my priority, but there was like this point around COVID time, like 2020, where it was like, it's getting more and more into fishing and stuff. And then I got with Salty Crew, and it was just like, wow, this is insane. Like all these pieces come together perfectly, because with other brands, it was like, if I wasn't getting a wave or winning a contest, it didn't matter, because surfing was always my goal. And then when I got with Salty Crew, I was like, the waves are flat. I can go catch this big fish and get cool content doing that, and they're just as stoked as if I won a contest. So it was like this door open to be able to create so much more content and value for myself, and push myself more. You know, I love fishing, but it was kind of more of a casual thing, to whereas that same crazy obsessive passion I had with surfing got put into fishing even more so.
Okay, so before I ask you about your Mexico trip, if you had to rank your the spearing, fishing, surfing, how would you rank those if you had to?
Like I said earlier, it depends on the day. The conditions. But at the end of the day, I've thought about this. I've had some people ask me, like, absolute as good as it gets, surfing would still win. Would be my number one, and then spearfishing would be number two. So, I love fishing too, but at the end of the day, I love surfing in big waves, because there's a chance things could go really wrong, and that's like the adrenaline rush. I wouldn't call myself an adrenaline junkie, but it's there to a point. And the same thing with spearfishing, where there's always that kind of in the back of your mind, where if you make a mistake or if something goes wrong, that could be the end. So I think that, which is weird to think about, but as I thought about it, I'm like, all right, like that's what I love so much about surfing big waves and spearfishing. And fishing is great too, but things have to go very, very wrong to be in that position fishing.
And it's a different kind of altogether approach, where spearing and surfing, you do have that consequence.
Exactly, consequence. Much more consequential.
But so with Salty Crew, it's been 3 years or so that you've been?
It's probably been about 4 years, coming up on 4 years now.
I mean, again, like that is, when I remember seeing you, that you got on with Salty Crew, and it's just been amazing seeing, because you've been able to really, it sounds like they're like the perfect company for you. For what you do. They really like your approach to it, and getting content, doing your Instagram, not doing contests. And you took a trip to Mexico?
So that was this spring. They did a team trip to Mexico, which was a dream trip. Big barrels and big fish, which is exactly what I love chasing. And the first day we got out there, the surf was small, which is something that I wish for sometimes, to go spearfishing. And we were out there with Brian Conley, and we took out his little ponga and went chasing yellowfin. And we found some birds that were working and loaded up the spear guns, and like right away we were in it. And Brian's like, all right, jump in. And I got ready as quick as I can, and jumped over and didn't see anything. The birds kind of moved. The dolphin went a different direction. I was like, all good. Hop back in the boat, quick 1 minute run, reposition, drop back in again, and not even a minute later, like 180-pound yellowfin tuna just by itself comes straight at me. I'm like watching some dolphin, porpoise, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, is there anything? And then look back
right
in front of me, and it's coming straight at me. And as quickly as I can swing my gun around, it's this brand new gun I got, first trigger pull with it. I just gotten it, never even pulled the trigger, and shoot it. And it happened so quickly. I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was freaking out, and 45 minute fight later on the float line, pulled it up, and yeah, it was a fish of a lifetime.
Is that the fish that's on the cover of the video?
Yeah,
thumbnail?
yeah, that's the fish that's on the cover of the thumbnail. So that made my trip, like right there, trip of a lifetime, fish of a lifetime, right there within a couple hours of the first day on the first trip. So I was like, everything after this trip is just a bonus.
And then have you done some tuna spearing out here?
I haven't really targeted the tunas here. It's something that I do want to do, but like I mentioned earlier, the sharks are so bad out there in the Gulf Stream right now.
Right.
There's definitely days when it's doable, but I haven't done it. It's on the list of things to do. It just needs to be the right day with the right crew of people, and I think there is a borderline kind of like stupid risk involved with it, just because of the number of sharks, but sharks, you can manage them slightly better when you're in the water than when you're just reeling in a fish, but obviously the consequences are far worse if things go wrong. So it hasn't happened yet. I would like to, but
and then on that trip, so y'all also did some fishing too, right?
Yeah. So that day we were out there and got the big tuna right away, and we had fishing rods on the boat. So yeah, we were just taking turns jumping in. We were chasing the same school of fish around all day and taking turns casting lures at them and jumping in and spearfishing. At the end of the day, I think we ended up with 5 tunas that were all great class of fish. Not as big as the first one, but still really big ones, like 40 to 60 pound tunas. And we got to the point where I was like, I don't know how many more fish we can put in this boat. Like we're getting pretty low in the water.
Yeah. That's
no ice, just like full on Mexico style, just like dump the ice we had on the floor of the boat and threw a board bag over them.
Wow. So yeah, literally like that was like your first day.
First day.
At it. And then to catch them hook and line, did I see, was it topwater?
Yeah, it was topwater, which was insane. Yeah.
It's a dream.
Yeah, it was hard to choose between fishing and spearfishing because both of them were so insane in those moments.
Dumb question though, in part planning that trip with Saudi crew, were they kind of like, hey guys, this is going to be a good time of year? All these things could align.
Yeah,
so kind of like the dream.
All
3.
Exactly. So we were trying to eye up the weather window of getting good waves, but ideally a day or two of smaller waves to get the fishing in. And that's normally a good time of year. Brian is part of Salty Crew, so he's the local guide and was staying in touch with everybody saying, now's a good time, you want to get out here.
And did y'all fly into Mexico? Or?
Yeah, we flew we walked across the border in San Diego to Tijuana.
Got it.
Which was a little bit of an inconvenience, but it wasn't too bad. And then the surf was great the rest of the trip too. I mean, that's something we spent a bunch of time just talking about the fishing, which was insane, but that was only one day, and then the next 5 days were pumping waves, great paddle waves, great step offs, which is something I've never really done, so that was cool to do that. And
but people don't know this. You were surfing that heavy surf injured.
Yeah, I was. So 3 weeks before that trip, I was surfing here and did an air on like a waist high wave and rolled my ankle and then like compressed and hit my knee on the board. So I could barely walk for like the next 2 weeks. I went to the doctor and x-ray and everything. I was devastated. I didn't think I was going on the trip. And I was talking to the guys at Salty Crew. I was like, I hurt myself. I got an x-ray. I should be good to go. But I committed going on the trip before I was able to walk. I was in a boot for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And like just started walking before the trip. And it was like, not even sure if I was going to be able to kick with fins or stand up on a surfboard. So that was the most nerve-wracking thing going out on that trip. And definitely didn't feel good, but adrenaline helps out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those waves were, I guess, with that Mexico trip, you've spent time in Panama, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, those waves in Mexico, it kind of looked like Hatteras on crack almost.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really good. Panama's got great waves, but they're definitely not the same size as the waves in Mexico. And the perfection of those big waves, it breaks like pipeline over sand, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But to do it injured is, yeah, that's absolutely incredible. With all this stuff like that you do, and you've been doing it now for so long, even as young as you are. And maybe you touched on this, but I always find it interesting to ask, like, is there like a why behind it maybe? Or do you have like an end goal or anything in mind?
No, not really. I just do it because I love it. Like, it really, you know, I wanted it to be a career when I was young, but I wanted it to be a career so I could do it as much as possible.
Absolutely.
It's not like an ego thing. I try not to think of it like that. Something to brag about the things I've done. I'm very grateful for the things I've done, and I'm thankful for the people that support me, but I do it because I love it at the end of the day. And I really just, it's like the addiction of just getting the best wave and fish and everything. That's really what motivates me. And I'm still a kook at so much stuff. Like I'm trying to learn more and get better every single day, which is cool. And I like thinking like that. Like I'm still, like I feel like I'm still down here, and I got so much room to learn and improve, which motivates me to keep getting better waves and better fish and learning more skills.
But what is it about the people that you've surrounded yourself with, and to me, like, as kind of like an outsider for the Outer Banks community, if you talk about you and Brett, Jesse and Noah and a lot, y'all are so humble, like, and soft-spoken in like a great way, that you guys let your surfing or whatever you're doing speak for itself. Like, did that kind of, like, seeing that as an example, like, did that help?
Yeah, definitely looking up to those guys that are so talented and so humble. It motivates me to be the same way, like following their footsteps is something that I always wanted to do. I looked up to those guys, and I don't know, you know, it's very cool that that's the type of people the Outer Banks breeds. I think it's just because it's such a cool spot. It's not somewhere like that where you have to be bragging about your accomplishments or anything like that. It's kind of like, let your actions speak for yourself, but it's not even something that you really want to brag about. It's cool to talk about it. Pretty much everyone you talk to is into surfing and fishing themselves, so you're stoked to talk to them about it. You don't have to brag or pull out your phone and be like, look what I did, or this is what I did, or show up to the bar and act like you're the guy because you caught this fish or caught this wave.
It's such a great, like, for people that haven't been to the Outer Banks, you know, so let's say somebody's watching this or listening to this video. They've never been here. How would you describe it?
It's hard to describe. It's a very unique place. It's full of coastline that's almost untouched, with great waves and great fishing. And it's somewhere, it's not like a city vibe where there's endless things to do. There are great places, like we're here at Swelza, if you want to, you know, hang out and socialize. But what excites me is there's so much coastline with potential that you can go and do by yourself. And that's what I love the most about it. What about, like, the people? It's, to me, that's what it's like, capturing lightning in a bottle. Like, you can't describe it, but if you had to try, like, the people that, the people, everyone is super welcoming and good people. No one's like got crazy egos, or it's not flashy where people are driving around in their fancy nice cars. Everyone works hard to do the things they love doing and support their family, and that's all everyone's trying to do. They're trying to make enough money to surf and fish when it's good and support their family and go on some trips, but no one's trying to go above and beyond. It's not like some crazy corporate world. We're not a city or anything. It's a small little beach town. A lot of people work in the service industry and they grind all summer long, and then they have some time off in the winter.
Yeah.
And everyone's just stoked to share this place with everyone else, which is cool.
Yeah. I think for me, when I describe it, it's like the Outer Banks is what it is because of what it's not.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's not Ocean City.
Yeah.
It's not Hawaii. It's not, it's, Justin Quintal and his Instagram, it says aloha y'all.
Yeah.
That's how I describe the Outer Banks. It's like island lifestyle with Southern culture.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you had touched on some things that you're still quote unquote a kook at. What's next? What are you trying, is there anything next that you're really wanting to, a fish you want to catch, or check box, anything?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's always things that I want to keep getting better at, but I don't really have anything big. Going to Panama is my next big trip plan, but I don't have any crazy goals to accomplish then. Yeah, right now I don't necessarily have a goal, which is kind of weird. I felt like I've always had that when I was younger, but right now I'm kind of just going with the flow. I definitely should put something on the wall that I look at every morning to motivate me.
Oh, I think it's an awesome place to be at.
Yeah.
Not for once in your life, but I mean, you're at a good spot to kind of express yourself, and do it in the way that you want to do it. I think but maybe, I've always wished that you and your brother had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something that I thought about for so long, on and off. And I mean, it's definitely a possibility. That would definitely be a big goal to set and start working towards. Yeah. And it's something that I do think about a lot. I mean, when you asked me that question, that was kind of in my mind. But yeah, I mean, asking me now, it's definitely something that there's a big part of me that wants to do it, but there's another part that slightly intimidated, and almost at the end of the day, I think a lot of the reason I just do all the things I do is because I like doing it and I like capturing it because it's cool. It's not necessarily I feel like the content creation takes a little bit of the experience away from me, and I don't want it to feel like too much of a job, and I think that it would be a lot, but at the same time I keep thinking about it and I love it so much that I think it would actually make me love it so much more because I get to put a story behind it and share it with people. So that's kind of both sides in my mind, the argument of almost not wanting to do it but then wanting to do it. Yeah,
and that's such a healthy balance because it's so easy. I mean, even as young as you are, for all of us with social media, it's so easy to even with Instagram, that you might start to get into well, this didn't do well, this post got more views.
I make a cool reel and then it kind of flops and it bums you out. Yeah. And it's I had this great day, great experience, fun time editing it, and then it almost takes away from that sense of happiness you get, which is messed up. It shouldn't. And I guess maybe that's kind of it at the end of it, is the fear of it not working out. But I think the best things in life you're scared of. At the end of the day, everything that I do scares me. I'm not afraid to admit I'm scared in big waves and spearfishing, but I only have good days when I am scared.
Talking about fishing, is there anything that you've really been and maybe in our world of 1Fish2Fish world of the inshore stuff, what over the past few years have you learned fishing wise? Maybe, I don't know, inshore fishing.
I mean, I've known this, but I get reminded of it daily that you don't know as much as you think you know. Oh yeah. Anytime you think you figure something out, you always get thrown a curveball. But I think I just got a greater understanding about little details that make a big difference, something as simple as watercolor and the currents. And I buy into the moon phases a little bit, but just there's so many other little details that come into play in the way that fish position themselves, and the way that the water's moving and how they position themselves. Just because you're wanting to fish a spot on an outgoing tide, they might be slightly different because of certain little factors.
Right.
So I think I've really paid attention to those finer details, and I've learned some stuff and thought I've learned some stuff more than others.
When you think about like the future of the Outer Banks, is there anything that like concerns you?
Yeah, that it's going to turn into Virginia Beach or Ocean City, Maryland or something. It's great. I love seeing more stuff get built, but only to a certain extent. You know, I mean, when I was little, there was Walmart and Food Line, and now it seems like there's a bank on every corner and a new shopping center coming up every year. And yeah, it would definitely take away if it keeps building up to the point where you got to pay for parking and stuff like that. And it seems like there's more hotels, and we've always had the big beach houses, but it's a bummer when you see a little flat top cottage get torn down and then it mini motel gets built in its place. So I want the Outer Banks to stay at its core value. So I think that would be the only thing. You know, there's other beach towns in the world where, not in the world, on the East Coast, where people that grew up there have to move inland because they can't afford anymore to live on the beach itself. It just gets commercialized too much. And that would be my fear, that it turns into that. We're all it's not the same Outer Banks that I grew up. That's what makes it so special. It's not.
Sure. Yes, it's not that. It's not all the other places.
It is, but not
correct
to that extent. It's a tourist destination, but it's not Myrtle Beach.
Exactly. And then fishing over the years, like the fishery. What are some of the ups and downs that you've seen? Yeah,
it's changed a lot. I think the striper fishing is definitely a big topic of discussion. I was really young when we used to have the stripers in the ocean. Didn't really get to fully experience that, and it's been years since they were there, and hopefully they'll show back up at some point. Sound striper is another topic of discussion. I mean, right now our season never even opened, which there's fish there, but you know. I don't even want to get into the numbers.
And let's not talk about the flounder thing too.
Flounder would be the next thing that I would say. You know, fishing is, like you asked me earlier, like stuff I learned about fishing in the Sound, and it's such a dynamic thing. Like what works one day doesn't work the next, or even the next hour. So who really knows what's up with the numbers of those species? But I think the restrictions have gotten a little bit more as I've gotten older, which I want everybody to still catch fish in the future. So but yeah, that's definitely an interesting topic. And then it's just constantly changing. You know, we get the cold stun events with the trout, so there's been great years of trout fishing. The last 2-3 years have been insane for big class of fish. I mean, this has been the best trout fishing for size fish that I can remember in my life, which is really cool. And you know, I remember years ago the numbers were insane because we did get some cold stun events. So that goes up and down. Same thing with the drum fishing. You have some insane falls and springs and some that aren't. It changes. It's cool. Every year's different, and that's what's so exciting about fishing, seeing it change yearly and weekly and monthly.
What has spearfishing taught you about hook and line fishing, being in the water? Seeing fish.
It's cool. I've fished spots before spearfishing them, and I've spearfished spots and then ended up fishing them afterwards, and it's cool to see how the fish hang on the wrecks and how they move, and just what the wreck looks like underwater too. I look at the bottom machine and I'm like thinking about the wreck itself, that I get an unfair advantage, I feel like, because I'll be fishing on the spot and I'm like, oh, we're exactly here. Like the fish normally hang like that. And even seeing lures in the water, like sometimes people are fishing while I'm diving, and like seeing how they react to them. I'll be like, do this differently, or do that, or drop your bait, you're just 10 feet off to the side. So it definitely gives you a completely different perspective, seeing the fish in the water.
We used to go harvest oysters, you know, around the inlet. And I remember the first time we did it, you'd pick up a clob of oysters and there'd be like all these different life forms on them.
Yeah.
And that to me was like, okay. So yes, oysters provide different, whether it's like healthier water around the oyster bed, but that really stood out to me being like, wow, putting my hands on these oysters and seeing like what these drum are really kind of like getting, you know, so it really, and that's why I wanted to ask you, like spearing, like even like, because you guys spear in the inlet sometimes, or has that helped you to kind of dissect like a fishery sometimes, just knowing?
Yeah, you can see what they're feeding on too. You can see how everything's working around the wreck or whatever structure you're on. And it's, yeah, like you said, you see like, oh, like I was thinking about this thing and it's actually completely different. Like this is what the structure is actually like, or the bottom's like, or this is the growth that's on here, or this is how the bait fish are hanging on it. So it really, so much about fishing is thinking about the conditions and the tools you're using, the lures, and making them work how you think they should. But a lot of it's with your eyes closed because you're not actually in the water. And I feel like I get to kind of peek a little bit when I'm spearfishing and like actually see what's going on, how the fish are, what the bait is, what the exact bottom's like. So it definitely makes me rethink things a little bit.
Yeah. And then some of the most, and I don't really like getting into this discussion about like the biggest trout you've ever caught or the biggest cobia. But what are some of those like really memorable like fish that like maybe that world record sheepshead that you had?
Yeah, so that was really a memorable fish. I'll definitely never forget that. That was just me and my brother getting that 16.8 pound sheepshead. So that was really big, and it was so cool because it was just me and my brother. And then we had another day where me and him each speared a really big cobia together. There's a pack of cobia, and he speared a 50-some pounder and I speared a 70-some pounder. So we were like fighting them at the same time. So like that, I mean, it's going to be tough to beat for the rest of my life. Like that moment with my brother sharing that, and getting that big of a cobia, both of us on a shore dive together. That was a cool experience. First bluefin tuna I caught was a really, really cool experience. The yellowfin tuna was an insanely cool experience. I caught a really big trout on the beach a few years ago. That was a really cool experience that I won't forget. It was just like such a random day. I was supposed to be going with my girlfriend to a cookout, and I got a call that the fish were biting, and I ended up meeting my brother there, and just, there was fish biting, but there weren't that many big fish being caught. And then all of a sudden I just pull up this 28-inch trout out of the surf that just blew my mind.
And was it tough getting it? Like, was it really like getting in the shore break?
Oh, yeah. Like anyone
people don't know this that don't beach fish.
Yeah, anyone that catches a drum knows how hard it is. Like they're just pull and drag, and they're hard to get across the little trough. Across the inside wave breaking. You know, trout, they come up, they shake their head. If you catch any trout in the surf that's under like 23 inches, they fight, but once they get 25 and up, you think you have a drum on. They're head down. They might come up and head shake, which you don't even want, because then it just freaks you out more. But yeah, I've caught some that, it feels like you have a drum. You're like trying to get it over. You're almost cupping your spool. You're like, I've already caught a drum today. Let me just get this thing over. And then all of a sudden you see it's a trout. You start shaking. So yeah, that's the crazy thing. A trout in the surf feels like it's twice the size than when you catch it in the sound. Because of the currents and everything in the water.
And you've had these experiences with your brother.
Yeah, which is really cool. I'm very, very lucky to have a brother that shares the same passion with me. Fishing, surfing, spearfishing.
Because people, you know, so Quentin's brother Stefan Turko, and so he's on Saudi crew too.
He is.
And so, and y'all are traveling this winter together. That's awesome that you guys get to, you know, you hear about these families like the Godowskis family and the Ho or all this stuff, but they don't, it's you and your brother have this, y'all are like a team out there.
Yeah, we really are. It's great to have somebody that you trust with your life, like with spearfishing and surfing and fishing, and someone you can like share knowledge with, that you're like completely open book and sharing and helping each other. So it's great because it's like there's 2 of us. So it's like that much better. Like one can fish this way, the other can fish that way. And as soon as it starts working, it's like, all right, of course we're super competitive, but.
Are you?
Yeah, super competitive.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I would, for real.
Yeah.
So like, if y'all are out and, you know, you're, you know, catching like a bigger trout or something.
Yeah. 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 Oh yeah, we get super competitive. Stefan normally outfishes me. He's the better fisherman. And then we'll get into it surfing. We're always competitive, but we're always pushing and helping each other. Yeah.
Competition.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then do y'all have, the 2 of y'all, anything like lined up? So you're going to, or he's joining you this year?
Yeah, we'll both be going to Panama next month.
Yeah.
It's the big trip planned. We'll see. Nothing really planned, just surfing and doing some fishing and trying to figure out the spearfishing out there.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of stuff to pack. I'm gonna be bringing a bunch of stuff. I'm already trying to figure out how much I can bring on the plane.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what gear, spearing and what boards are you riding now?
Right now I've been riding Lost surfboards.
Okay.
I've gotten some boards from Mike Rowe under the Ghost Ship Supply label, which is a cool brand. So I'm going to be bringing those boards out, and I'm riding 5'7" to 5'10" is my normal size board. I have bigger step ups, but my day-to-day board's in like the 5'8" range.
Wow.
Shaped a little bit like of like a pintail for getting barreled, and a little bit different design for small waves, but that 5'7", 5'8" range is my normal size surfboard. And then spearfishing, you know, varies a little bit too, but I got some littler 60 centimeter guns for shallow, murky water, and then I got a Koa 62-inch gun for blue water with 4 bands. So.
And so with the spearing, you had showed me, I think when we went out this past summer, that you did have a new gun, but you're not affiliated right now.
Yeah, no, I don't have any.
That must be nice to be able to use whatever spear gun is appropriate for.
Yeah, exactly. They're super unique and different for everybody, so it's cool to try different stuff and see what I like. Because like you saw, I had that roller gun, which liked some things about it, and then I didn't like some things about it. So it's cool to try different equipment and see what works for you. And the same thing with surfboards. You know, I've ridden Lost surfboards for years, and I still do. But it's cool to dabble around and try different things. Every piece of equipment's unique and special in its own way. So I like trying it.
Absolutely. Few quick last questions. What's your favorite setup on the Outer Banks, like for waves? Like, what would you say like would be like ideal?
Yeah, when it's on the lighthouse.
Okay.
North swell at the lighthouse, offshore winds, just
5 to 7 foot, or okay,
5 to 7 foot. Maybe a little bit bigger, but I mean that's a perfect size. That's just super heavy, long barrels. That's my favorite wave by far.
Did I hear that the sand was better years past?
Yeah, that's a complicated topic. It seems like definitely the jetty's falling apart.
Okay.
You know, you can see it. That's definitely having an impact on the sand. But the outer bars seem to be getting shallower too over the years.
Right.
We've had beach nourishment multiple times from pretty much all up and down the beach. So I don't know if that sand's going out on the outer bars, if it's a natural cycle. Obviously, we've had some man-made intervention going to houses on the beach and everything. So we've changed the natural movement of sand here. And
got it.
It's making it hard for the waves to get bigger at these spots because they start breaking on the outer bar and it gets more mixed up. And it's just, the inside bars don't hold the same size. And there's still very good days, but it's an issue when we start getting waves over 6 feet at some spots.
Right. We haven't even talked about the fact that you're a big kayaking girl.
Yeah. And love kayak
getting
fishing.
Cobia on the kayak.
Yeah, that's mine and my brother's favorite thing to do fishing is the kayak fishing for cobia. It's insane how much fun and addicting it is. Yeah. That's what consumes my life in May.
And it's a lot of, it's like stand-up paddling almost?
Yeah, we use the kayaks. We have Hobie kayaks. I mean, you're using the pedals to get out there, but we're standing up the whole time to see better. So yeah, you end up stand-up paddling all day. And
you got to have a funny story about like getting a big cobia close to the kayak that you just like have to wrestle with. It's not a drum where they just like lay up next to you.
Man, I remember the first cobia my brother hooked from the kayak. I had the gaff and I was like, do you want to gaff it yourself? Should I gaff it? That poor thing must have been stuck by me with the gaff at least 6 or 7 times. The leverage in the kayak, every time I would grab it, it was this weird gaff that was like twisted like that. So every time I would gaff it and go to pull it in, it would just flop and roll off. And I was like, the pressure was so high because it was the first legal cobia we were getting ready to land, and Stefan fought it for so long, and I kept trying to gaff it and ended up getting it after a while. But yeah, the worst thing is trying to gaff it. Like now I've gotten a bit better where it's like really tire it out and you can almost just grab it and pull it in, but gaff it in the head when it's very tired. But yeah, it's gnarly. I mean, they got gnarly spikes on their back. I always get tore up. I caught a good sized one this year. And
you did?
Yeah, it was the biggest one I've caught. So it was cool. And we had one gaff and my brother had it. So I ended up grabbing it by hand anyways and pulling it in.
With the cobia fishing, is there everybody's got their own opinion about like when you're casting on a cobia, whether it's from a kayak or a boat. Yeah. Do you have a certain way that you like to retrieve that bucktail?
Yeah, I try to, you can almost, I'm not an expert at it at all. There's guys that have been doing it for longer than I've been alive, but I try to read the fish. I try to learn as much as I can from those guys that know a lot more about me. And it seems like you can kind of read the way a fish is, but definitely try and get a reaction out of them quick and then try and give it some jigs and then maybe drop it. Seems to be good, but man, it seems like every fish is different. But the quick and then jigging approach is pretty good, but it
like you'll like zip it across their face.
And get them enticed.
Cool.
But it seems like every fish is a bit different too. Just like with fishing, anytime you think you got to figure it out, you work real hard and you get a bite out of one, you're like, I figured it out. The next one that won't eat, I'm gonna get, I know this is the trick. The little half flick, the double flick is it. Or you find the magic color and then the next fish just swims away from your jig.
Yeah, exactly. Well, man, thanks for joining this. You know, it's you're top of mind, and you know, and to talk to someone like yourself who just has such a healthy understanding of the ocean.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jeff.
Awesome,
you're super knowledgeable yourself. That's why it's so great talking to you about it.
Thanks, man. Well, cool. Well, you guys, Quentin, just your Instagram, what's it?
Quentin_Turko.
Perfect. So you guys check that out, and that's Quentin's main platform for sharing what he does, and just really appreciate your approach to it and humble approach to it as well. And it's really, really awesome to see what you and your brother are doing. And Stefan's Instagram is?
Stefan Turko, no spaces.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, awesome, man. Sweet. Well,
awesome.
There it is.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I enjoyed it. It was a pleasure talking with you.